Happy Friday. One of the first of two times I will most likely be saying Happy Friday to you. Today, as of 12 minutes ago, is Friday, December 9th. Almost headed to Christmas, and it'll be now. We're going to talk for, I'm going to try to keep things under control and keep it under an hour. Last night, I mean, obviously there was a lot of chaos to talk about, so we kind of, went over it. I always like to get to as many of the chats as possible, but I'm going to try to keep it, right hardcore to an hour, because not only do we have another show tonight, it's Christmas time, and as a retailer, a lot of my energy is sapped out of that right there. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center Live. My name's William, and let's jump into the chat and see who's here before we jump into the news, and then we'll go over to open mic, and we'll talk to you guys and answer your questions. And it doesn't have to be about any particular topic. If you have a question and it's within my ability to answer, I'll try to answer it. So, how you doing, Sith Holocron? Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of nonsense. And like I said, I spent an hour and a half, basically telling you why I no longer hold the trades in the highest regard that everyone else holds them in. And not, 6-7 hours after I get off the air, James Gunn tweets, and we'll go ahead and pull up that tweet. And while he said some of the stuff was true, the fact that he had to clarify that some of it was half truth and some of it wasn't true at all, and some of it hadn't been decided on, should tell you how you should be viewing these trades and these pundits and these articles and these people who have a lot of credibility behind their name and reputation. Like I said, we don't have to call any of these people liars, but it's time for the audience to grow up and start using some common sense and applying it to these articles. Like I said last night, as we were reading the article, there were so many gaps into what was known and what was not known and what was speculated and what people assumed. I could have literally driven a truck in between each of them. Yet we had people just losing their fucking minds last night, most of today, about basically nothing yet. All right. I basically, the one thing I learned from that article and learned from the last 24 hours is I need to wait for the only person that matters or only one of two people that matters is James Gunn and Peter Safran. All right. I am in no different place than I was 24 hours ago. Still waiting for James Gunn to tell me what's going on with DC Films or DC Studios. The Hollywood Reporter did nothing for me. All right. And all the trades that leached off of that topic did nothing for me. They don't have to be lying, but what did they tell you? Like I said, for every topic that they brought up, I had at least 4 or 5 questions on each of them. By the time I was done with my stream last night, I had at least 20 questions that I legit wanted to know. And we'll never get any answers from them, but we'll have to wait until we get them from him. All right, yeah. How you doing, Krampus Jeebus? Your name, dude. I can't wait till Easter comes around. Maybe like Easter Bunny Jeebus or what? I don't know. How you doing, Anthony from down under? Sith Holocron, what's going on? I will, you guys. Let me check my DMs. Make sure you Krampus got it. Yeah, I saw this around Krampus. I have a policy though. It's hilarious, but I have a policy of not getting into that realms. But thank you for sending it. I did get a laugh out of that the first time I saw it. Wow. Half truth. We should just relax and have fun. Yeah, that's basically what it is at this point. Like I said, I'm going to re-clarify where I'm at as of today with all of this. And I'm going to read his tweets, and we're going to go into the into details, because he had several tweets back to back. Trying to clarify what he was saying. Thoughts on the Jennifer Launch Squad and Britchie? I haven't been following that one. Sorry. I heard that she said she was did she say she was the first action hero or female action hero, something to that matter, because of the Hunger Games? I didn't. I heard it in the background while all this other chaos was going on. I know she had said some other stuff a couple of weeks ago about she basically not having a penis cost her millions of dollars because women don't get paid as much in Hollywood as she's using. I heard that controversy, but I heard something about her being the being the first action. I don't know if she said it, but like I said, this is all going on in the background, so fill me in on that. So, all right, so the first thing we're going to do is to keep everything under control and keep everything on a tight time thing that I have now. I'm going to go ahead and just jump in to his tweets that he read this morning. Like I said, these tweets, whether I like what he has to say or not, have more weight and credibility than any trade could ever give me. Any YouTuber, I don't care how many followers they have, comes secondary to what he says. So let's go ahead and jump into this. And so this morning, James Gunn, here's where we go ahead and start. All right, James Gunn. So as for the story yesterday in the Hollywood Reporter, some of it is true, some of it is half true, some of it is not true, and some of it we haven't decided whether it's true or not. All right, so that basically puts me back to where I was before I read the article. All right, we know we are not going to make every single person happy every step of the way, but we can promise everything we do is done in the service of the story and the service of the DC characters we know and we know you cherish and we have cherished our whole lives. As for more answers on the future of DCU, I sadly will have to ask you to wait. We are giving these characters and stories the time and attention they deserve, and we ourselves still have a lot more questions to ask and answer. All right, so what this tells me is they're still in the process of developing things. The fact that he had to add half truth and not true to that really scrambles up everything I read. And then I'm hearing later on in the day that it was, take this with a grain of salt as well, because it comes from one of these sources that we just have to take into context, that it, Patty Jenkins walked away from the Wonder Woman project, and that it doesn't necessarily mean that Gal Gadot is done, or Gal Gadot, I'm sorry, is done. It just means that Patty Jenkins' treatment of it may not be what they go forward with. And from what we were reading yesterday, that's pretty much what they said. I didn't see anything in that article yesterday that said it was done, it was killed. But yet when I went to other platforms and everywhere else, everybody, said Wonder Woman is over. And I specifically read that iteration, the one that she had presented, was over with. But once again, I would have to put that into one of the categories that they haven't made a decision on yet. What I'm reading, if I had to guess, and I'm based on nothing but my gut feeling. The thing that is not true, I don't believe that the Cavill thing is true. That's just going on my gut feeling. You guys can take it as for what you want. I don't think that we're losing Cavill, but I can hear once Gunn tells me I am, then that's what we go with. But until he puts that out, I don't truly believe that they would, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't just The Rock pushing that. It wasn't just Cavill pushing that. That was legit, and it's still up there. It's still up on DC's platforms and Warner Brothers Discovery's platforms, the Warner Brothers Pictures platforms. So, like I said, we are in the same exact place we were before this article went. So, and I have a feeling whoever these guys' sources are, there are, if the best they can give me is half truths and some things that are not true and some things are true, we can do that on our own. I know YouTubers that have, 20,000, 30,000 followers that can give me that kind of bullshit. I mean, you legit have as much credibility and worth as another YouTuber if that's your barometer of information. If the best that your information can test at is some true, some false, and some not even, half truth or some not even decided, that's legit every fucking YouTuber I know besides myself, because they're all better than me as far as I know. But every YouTube show I listen to could have given me that percentage. Even if there's no blatant lie or attempt to misdirect or anything else, that's literally the same barometer that I can pop on anybody on my subscriber list that I'm following right now, and it could have gotten the same type of information, which is basically nothing at this point, So who knows? Like I said, I'm just happy that we have a guy like this who can come out and pretty much say, hey, and give us some kind of indication of where we're going with this. And also gives us an indication of how true some of these guys are. Now, right now, just based on this, I can't really rely on information coming from any of these guys. because I just had the horse's mouth tell me at least some of the stuff that they put out isn't true at all. So I don't know. There you go. All right, let's go back to the chat. Back to the chat. Let's see. All right, I noticed that he has Green Arrow in that picture. I heard today he likes Green Arrow, and it makes me open. And, some of the stuff I like is here, and like I said, listen, the whole day has been dominated by the dumb word, which is reboot. I laid out my case, and I have laid out my case for months upon months. Why rebooting is a bad idea for DC right now. One of those reasons is if you're DC Studios, DC Comics, DC anything, your reputation when it comes to rebooting anything is awful. All right, you can draw a direct line to some of DC's core sales that I can personally tell you that are there. To directly associate those with Rebirth. You can directly associate those with New 52. For every person that told you, wow, New 52 is great, some of the best stuff, there's 3 or 4 other people that just fell off. All right. You really, every time you do these things, like I said before, you're telling the people who bought into whatever you were doing that you basically wasted their time. All right. And with one hand, and then the other hand saying, hey, by the way, give me some more of your time. Give me some more of your money after I basically shit away what you gave me for this amount of time. And it doesn't take the hardcore geek to come to that assertion. The general public will do the same thing. They'll just do it much quieter. Right? The general public won't get on here and then Shazam shirt and tell you reboots are stupid. They just will stop showing up. All right. The general public, Joe Average, won't get up on a Twitter thing and hashtag anybody. He just will keep his wallet in his back pocket. All right. And trust me, as destructive and as silly as we get on YouTube and trying to make our point and tell you, express how we feel, we're nowhere near as damaging than the average Joe that just looks at the situation and said, this again? Another Superman? Batman restarting? What's going on? You know what? They're not even going to give it that much brain power, because once you make your average customer start thinking that hard about your disorganization, it's just so easy for them to move on. All right, it's just so easy to move on. It's like when you drive by a store and it's just there's junk and everything in the front, carts. There's no carts everywhere. There's garbage in the parking lot, but across the street there's a nice clean store with no junk in the parking lot. The carts are all put in there. There's people out there to help you. The walls are clean. There's no graffiti and everything else. What are they going to choose? They're going to choose the much more accessible option. And when you do reboots, you basically make things inaccessible for a lot of people. Now, that being said, we do not know if that is what they're doing or how they're going to do it. There could be a transition period. There could be some transition because, like I said, one of the questions I have is, okay, if you're going to go with a reboot, you basically told people that these movies that you have remaining on the slate are pretty much worthless. That's going to be a hard argument for me to make. Go spend money on movies that lead to nothing. So before I really criticize that, I need to know what his transition plan is. Are we going to get a credible ending to what we've been on in order to lead us smoothly into this next thing that makes everything that we've ever watched credible enough to where we don't look back on it with a bad taste in our mouth? All right, that's an important thing, because another question I have, and this is a legit question. If you reboot things on the backs of what characters are you going to reboot them on? If it's not the Trinity, yeah, it can be done. But if I start hearing that we're going to start the new DCU with characters like Blue Beetle, with characters like the Suicide Squad, with characters like Lobo, that's fine. I personally don't have much interest in those. But throw me a script, throw me a trailer, that could change. It could change in 2 seconds. However, if you do that, if you go this reboot route, and this is because like I said, I don't think this is what's going to happen, but this is what's being reported, so let's go with the conjecture and the bullshit and rumors and just for argument's sake. If you do this type of reboot, everybody who's pushing for a DC reboot needs to shut the fuck up about box office for the next 5 years. I don't want to hear jack shit from anybody who says they just need to reboot it and start all over again. Remember when I said that was fucking stupid 5 years from now? And here's why. If you start over again, remember how long it took for you to build the credibility that we just left off with. Every iteration of these characters, like I said before, is going to take time for people to embrace. That compounds things if you start using B and C characters as a foundation of that universe. So that's a question I need to know, because if you're going to start with the characters people don't know about, and James Gunn has been known to do that, then I don't want to hear shit about box office from anybody. Not the big YouTubers with a million followers. Well, not the mid-level guys. Not Twitter. Not anybody close to me. Not anybody that walks up to me. I don't want to hear jack shit when these movies don't do all that great. If you're going to commit to this reboot and possibly rebooting with characters that nobody knows or cares about, then I don't want to hear shit. I don't want to hear from the executives saying they're just disappointed. I don't want to hear from Joe Blow .YouTube about DC's at it again, can't meet the expectations. I don't want to hear from bonehead fans that rooted for this. If you are committing and saying that we need to reboot everything, you are committing to the possible consequences of this as well. All right? And the consequences, because Lobo, I've been hearing Lobo a lot. Nobody knows who Lobo is. Oh, they love Jason Momoa, and I 100% agree. Jason Momoa is a MILF magnet. But The Rock was 3 times the star and 3 times the exposure that Jason Momoa is. And look what Black Adam's box office was. All right? You have to, in Shazam, I mean, if you're going to commit to this route, then box office is off the table. Because these movies, and more than likely, are going to struggle as they gain this foothold. And it's going to take time. You're talking about a 10-year plan for 2 guys that are on 3-year contracts. All right, and it's going to take you the majority of those plans to get to anywhere that looks, like something of a machine. So if they're going to commit to this, like I said, we don't know, but for argument's sake, if they commit to this, everybody involved on both sides of the situation needs to understand that there are consequences to this. And when we get a $300 or $400 million movie, maybe it's a Blue Beetle movie like that, because what, they thought the star was cool, they heard of him somewhere else, but what? All right, Jason Momoa, MILF magnet, Lobo, what? All right, understand that if you go this route, then I don't want to hear shit about how much these movies pull in. And to be honest with you, if he goes to Zaslav and says, this is my plan and this is what he wants to do, and Zaslav says yes, then I shouldn't see James Gunn or anybody else with their jobs on the line for the next 5 years, because you've committed to a long and painful process that might not bear fruit for a very long time. So remember, be careful what you're asking for. Be careful what you're asking for, because I know a lot of fans get caught up in the box office as if they get a chunk of the profits. All right, a lot of YouTubers are want to use that as their headline with the dollars and stuff dropping, even though they get nothing from that, from those proceeds. But if we start with reboot or we start with obscure characters that nobody fucking cares about, box office needs to be a banned word. You accept what it makes and you commit to building on that. We ain't going to do any of this. BBS didn't make $1 billion. Fuck you. You chose to go this route. These are the consequences. I don't want to hear, well, well, Superman, Man of Steel didn't make this or that. Fuck you. You commit to a reboot. If you commit to this road, you commit to everything that road has to offer. And there's probably going to be a good amount of disappointment. I'm on board because, like I said, I have nothing else to do, and I'm a comic book nerd. But if you go with this route, take the time. Don't do like the previous regime did, and panic because the movies didn't make $1 billion. You can forget that. Unless you're dealing with, even if you deal with Superman and Batman at this point, because guess what? Matt Reeves' Batman pulled in $700 million. All right, that's good money for what they spent, but the budget for the next one is going to be bigger, and the pressure is going to be more. All right, if you're looking for a Superman, you have a Superman right now that's within this generation. If you cut from that Superman and go with a new Superman no one knows, look how long it took for people to finally embrace Cavill. That's what you're looking at. We're talking 5, 6, 7 years. We had people that didn't embrace Cavill until they saw Zack Snyder's Justice League. Right? That was released in 2021. Man of Steel came out in 2013. Do you have, and this is a question I want to ask everybody, if anybody's listening, executives, stockholders, pundits, anybody, do we have the patience to go through this again? I mean, it's easy to say restart, rebuild, reboot. Any fucking infant that can talk or learn how to read, going from the first grade or kindergarten, can say words. Are you ready for the consequences that those words mean? That's my question. I think most people who are calling for a reboot, are full of shit. And they get caught up in the trend. They get caught up in reboot, and it sounds cool, and it's like telephone. But I don't think anybody has sat back and said, are we ready to go through a very, very long process with these characters again? Again, when we're not even finished with the one we started. And are we ready for those low box offices that might happen? You know what? So that is what lies ahead. I'm there for it, but I think that if it doesn't stick, we're going to have a recycling of the same whining that we did at the beginning of Zack Snyder's era. You know what? Like, all I'm saying right now is every one of you guys that ask for this, understand what comes with it. And you're dealing with a guy in James Gunn who I think has an awesome vision, but it's his vision. It doesn't connect with everybody. All right, his methods don't connect with everyone. We've heard the criticisms of James Gunn. Every time we bring up James Gunn's name, it's, he's going to do dick jokes and all that. So we already know, even though that's not necessarily true, he does dick jokes where they apply. But when you start going this route, understand that we got a good 5, 6, 7 year process before we may see anything that we can latch onto and consider something that's been worth investing our time to. All right, so let me go back to the. Let's see, Aaron Pritchard. I don't either. Like I said, it's one of the possibilities on the table. It's one of the possibilities that these trades put on the table yesterday, and it's a possibility that he did not eliminate during his tweet. So it's a very good possibility. How they do it is going to be the question. Are we doing a transition and give us a credible ending so that everybody who's stuck with this damn studio all this time can have a payoff and basically feels like they can stick around for what's coming up? Or are we just going to basically yank the chain and just pull the plug on everything? I don't know how he's doing that. How he does that is going to be critical. But once again, even given all those questions, I'll say this until he shows me something I don't like, is that I am open to what he has to offer. Give me something better than what I'm holding on to, and I'll drop that thing I'm holding on to. I would have done that for the previous regime, but they didn't give me anything. So everything I've said is under the qualification of that. When he unleashes his Bible, I might read it or look at what he's got planned. I'm like, oh, whoa, this is mind blowing. Just the potential for a kingdom come at any point during this is mind blowing. I'm for that. But when I hear, all this talk of reboot, and like I said, James Gunn hasn't said anything about a reboot. It's pretty much online community and pundits. and then the trades pretty much come after that. But I keep hearing people say that reboot is the best thing. You know what? It's like those guys that that tell you to go into the haunted house. We'll wait out here. You know what? Most of the people who say that, most of them don't even watch DC films to that measure. It doesn't mean as much to them as it means to to actual DC fans who watch it. They may glance at it, they may go to a movie, but if they're here and there, they're not the consistent audience that pretty much is the backbone. They're not the people who hashtag the hell out of things and basically willed a movie into existence. They aren't those people. All right, so they're telling you to reboot. Most of them are never really engaged in the product to begin with. So and then going back to the Cavill thing, like I said, the comparison to rebooting and having these characters start again is the Spider-Man has always been used after Amazing Spider-Man 2. Then we went into Tom Holland's. I'm going to give you probably what's a more accurate analogy is Hellboy. People were still looking for Ron Perlman because Ron Perlman could have still been playing Hellboy. Even though he said he was still old, he's still playing other characters that are far younger than his age, and he's under heavy makeup. All right, so had we been maybe a little bit longer, we're less than 20 years between, because Hellboy came out in 2004, and I think they did the reboot maybe two years ago. That would have been 2000. So we're still within a generation of these things, and we saw what Hellboy did. And David Harbour is great. You know him from Stranger Things. The new Christmas movie that's out. Black Widow. He was the best thing about Black Widow. Didn't matter. That movie was doomed from conception. All right, you still got a group of people that were looking for the Hellboy that they enjoyed. Now it's different when we say we can't go back to Christopher Reeves. Not only has he passed, that's 40 years ago. All right, and we can't go back to Michael Keaton because that's 32 years ago. And even Christopher Nolan, that's almost 20 years ago, 15, 16 years ago there. So. But you're talking about, coming into something like that. And it's like I said, you're doing Henry Cavill is the Superman of this generation. How poorly he's been used, even still, he is the Superman of this generation. You're basically saying you're starting your own generation, and it's like, I don't know if it's gonna fly. I'll watch. Like I said, the worst case scenario is they come out with something it doesn't interest me, and I just don't go see it. Like, right now, prior to any of this coming out, I started to begin looking forward to Blue Beetle, because Blue Beetle on its own, I have zero interest in that. None. I have HBO Max. I'm not saying I won't ever watch Blue Beetle, but I'll watch it on the same screen that I'm watching you guys right now, or on my TV. I'm not gonna pay money for that. All right. But Blue Beetle, within the context of the connected universe, going from one step to another, I'll go see it. I'm going to make an investment in that continuity. But one movie, solo movies here or there. Well, all right, Lobo. I like Jason Momoa. I mean, I think it would be some kind of fun. But once again, what continuity am I investing into? I can sit at home and watch these one-hit wonders, if they're hits at all. I mean, I'm just not interested. If you give me a Superman, if you give me a Batman, if you give me a Wonder Woman, if you give me an Aquaman, I'm there, because I know by the virtue of you using those characters, you are using that nuclear reactor to basically power the rest of this universe. But if you start giving me C's and D characters again, I think at some point I can wait. I'm not going to protest anything. I'm not going to hashtag. I'm not going to call for anybody to be fired. But it's like Avatar. I know a lot of people are going to love to go see that movie. We're promoting that movie, giving away tickets for that movie. I'm going to watch that on Disney Plus. It's just not my thing. And if you're not going to come out with the big guns or implications that we're going towards those big guns, and I'm going to share the enthusiasm that you give me. If you give me Trinity-sized enthusiasm, that's infectious. I'm going to share in that. But if you give me B level and C level intensity, I'm going to return that. I mean, it's just human nature. So, okay. This is what I've been saying the whole time. Is I think things, and this is what, like I said, nothing in the Hollywood Reporter and nothing that he said refutes the fact that there could just be an alignment. They could be going through this entire thing with a fine-tooth comb and picking and choosing what they want. I understand that they are new and that they want to chart their own course. That is understandable, and we know this is a reality that is going to happen to some extent. It's how it happens is what's going to define their destiny. It's how they handle it and how they do it. If you get resolution to certain things, or if you get at least a decent enough transition to things that doesn't just make invalidate, everything that you watch, who knows? But it's how they do it and to be honest with you, they need to lose the word reboot, because if you know what DC is, whether it's theatrical or whether it's comic book wise, if the word reboot is like poison. If you want your sales to instantly just go down the toilet, just add reboot to it. Just mention that you're rebooting this or you're rebooting that, and watch what it does to the enthusiasm for those projects. Right? Nobody wants to be told that their time has been wasted, and in the same tongue ask for more time to be wasted. I don't care if it's a hardcore geek like myself or the general audience out on the streets. Nobody wants to be told that what they've invested their time and money in is a waste. So transition and realignment is the best way to do this. Salvage as much as you can, because you're not just salvaging these storylines and these characters, you're salvaging these customers. These are paying customers, many of whom supported every one of these movies, whether it was something that they were truly hyped up about. I know plenty of people who went and saw these movies. It's not the hardcore fan that let you down. You just didn't put movies out that the general audience cared about. General audience cares about Harley Quinn, but that movie was a disaster. Sometimes the disaster effect of a movie overwhelms the star power's character. Suicide Squad, I thought, was pretty good, and that was one of the movies that we got crowds back in the theaters. So people were, coming to the theaters, not in the great numbers that they wanted to, but at the same time, you decided to release that movie. You decided to release the movie with no heavy hitters in it. So, but they were there for that. So, I mean, read the room and understand who's in that room with you and who potentially can be in that room with you as well. I don't see any reason to exclude anybody. I think there's a way through all this that can provide a stable transition that leads into whatever you want. And if you want to use a flash movie to do that, fine. But just do something respectable. Don't do like they've done in the comics. Oh my goodness. And Darcipio, I think Ron Perlman wants Guillermo del to direct and write a new Hellboy. Yeah, and then that's another thing, is that was his baby. That was everything about Hellboy. I mean, it's almost like he pulled Mike Magnolia's images right out of the pages and put them on the screen. I mean, it was perfect. And like I said, we're they came out with the other one, and that movie was doomed. All right, let's see. Yeah, I don't think you could do it. And then I hear a lot of people today saying that, well, you can't continue on with these actors because they'll always be connected to this or that. But here's the other thing. The actors in those previous iterations have connected to is money. Like I explained last night, people lose interest in streams of merchandise and revenue when you cut the cord. If you cut the lifeline that leads to the relevancy that these characters and these iterations, these characters mean, you cut the enthusiasm to them. All right, it's just it's just a matter of fact. Nobody wants to jump into something that they know is going nowhere. Or they know that's been cut off. Most people just don't. And like I said, why are you doing this when you still have capable people? But we need a fresh start now. Yeah, we need a fresh transition. I'm okay with something brand new. My concern is how it's being worded, possibly, and how it's being handled. I think they need to tread very lightly and very carefully in how they handle this, because they could really take all the air out of the room for the movies that they have coming up, and have to deal with a very long rebuild that maybe people will be for. Like I said, all the people who are saying that, every DC needs a reboot, I promise you, or at least half of them, if not more, are not regular viewers of the DC content. So who are we listening to here? And who are you trying to attract? Who are you? If people think that we see Marvel over here and that's how we have to do things, you got to understand that your brand distinction is different from Marvel's. And what your company has gone through as far as mismanagement has been different from Marvel's. You got a bigger case to make than just rebooting things. You have to show faith in what you've already done. Like I said, it's a trust factor more than anything. Why am I going to invest 3 to 4 years in your new thing? Who has that kind of time? I just got told what I invested 6 to 7 to 8, 9 years in could possibly going nowhere. And you want me to get back into the car with you and continue to go nowhere. I just don't see how you make that argument to people. I just don't see it. But hey, I'm open to what James, I got to hear it from him first, though. Like I said, the reboot train got started by the Hollywood Reporter in the trades, not necessarily by James Gunn. We don't know what he has planned. We just don't. All right, and there's enough ambiguity in both that article and his response to it that I'm just gonna wait. They seem like a smart group of people. I don't think they're going to do the stupid thing. But at the same time, I understand that at some point we're going to have to move in a direction that gives them a better platform. But at the same time, I think that can be done in a way, the hard reboot. Like I said, I likened it today when I responded to a post as we having ran a marathon and gotten to the finish line and being told that those miles you ran meant nothing. Oh, and by the way, in about 15 minutes, we want you to run another marathon. I'm going to tell that guy to go fuck himself. All right? The exhaustion. Even if what they present is awesome. Even if they present is just great, stunning thing. And their ideas are beautiful. At some point, you have exhausted the audience. You have done so many things, most of which aren't them, but they are primed for disappointment. It is, like I said, it is literally just the wind being taken out of your lungs and you're being told to accept a new thing. I just don't, even if it's great, even if it's what has to happen, brace yourselves for a good 3 to 5 year, possibly more, of some inconsistent results, inconsistent perceptions, inconsistent acceptance, inconsistent box office. This is no matter how good the explanation for doing this is, explanations, speeches, presentations don't matter if no one cares. If you reach to the point that where nobody cares enough about your product to give it that chance, it doesn't matter what your plan is. And that's my concern, is that we don't do a credible transition to where it doesn't look like you're yanking the world out from everybody who's been on board with you this time, and you transition into what you're doing. I think that would be great. That's what I hope. But if it's just a hard reboot, even if it's, let's say, if it's the right thing to do, you've reached a point where nobody's going to care, and you haven't, and you're not giving the big fireworks that the general audience is going to come outside to look up in the sky at. You know what? You're going to go from Superman, Batman, and all this, and you're going to give me Lobo. You're going to give me Blue Beetle. You know what? You're going to give me Peacekeeper. I mean, that sounds great to us sitting here looking at this screen, but even some of us, I mean, I like Peacemaker, but do I want that the basis of things going forward? Not really. Blue Beetle sounds intriguing, and the landscape that includes the Justice League and the Superman and the Batman, yeah, I'll give it a shot. But that's a big ask to make of an audience, given what, DC has put not just their hardcore geeks, but their general audience too. I mean, they're going to have to spend the next 3 to 5 years actually proving it. And unfortunately, some really good movies may not draw a lot of money because of the fact. But if this is the path everybody wants, then you filter the word box office out of all your Twitter stuff and out of all your social media when it comes to these things. Filter it out. Because it's not going to matter. It can't matter because the first stumble you hit with a no-name character that nobody goes and sees, but it's a great movie, you chose this path, so stick with it. All right? I better see if that movie's great and it only drew $400 million. What you basically told me is we needed to do this, so you need to continue. All right? And you need to continue throughout the end of it. You know, and if you give me Blue Beetle and Blue Beetle draws $400 million on a $200 million in budget, I mean, Blue Beetle only costs 90, but their next characters, if you give me, a Lobo or Jason Momoa, and nobody goes to see it, and I hear box office disappointment, I'm not going to want to hear that madness. You chose this path, stick with it. You know, that's why I say whatever path they choose, and they're saying it's a 10-year plan, 3 or 4 of that, if it's a hard reboot, is going to be building from the ground up. And if I'm a stockholder, especially if I'm one of the ones who got sold on the plan for Discovery to buy Warner Brothers to begin with, maybe I'm not on board for that. It's one thing for a fanboy to say, we need to reboot everything. We need a fresh start. Forget the Snyderverse. If I'm paying, if I paid into this buy-in, and if I'm a stockholder, if I'm somebody, that, goes on the golfing trips with you, I may not want to hear that jazz. All right? If I'm investing in the company and we're investing in these projects and I'm a financier and I'm investing in this, your reboot logic is not going to mean crap to me. I'm going to want a return on these investments. I'm not going to want to hear about $378 million because you decided to go with an obscure character. I'm not going to want to hear about $500 to $600 million because you went with a brand new mainline character. I'm not going to necessarily want to hear that. So, like I said, sometimes it's not going to matter whether something needs to be done or whether the explanation to do it is good. You just, if you don't have the credibility to pull it off as a company and as an entity, you got an uphill battle. So there you go. I think Matt Reeves being the launch of any universe would be a disaster. First of all, he doesn't want it. B, his character is not designed to interact with the fantastical characters that would need to happen in order for any type of universe to get in. Grounded does not work outside of Batman. All right? Grounded does not work with Superman. Grounded does not work with Green Lantern. Grounded does not work with Wonder Woman. All right? And there's a reason why when he's presented in the comic books, he's presented differently when he's in his own detective comics or his own solo comics as opposed to when he is in the group comics where there are big, Brainiacs and Starros and all that. All right, launching a universe from Matt Reeves' Batman would be just as big a disaster as what everybody wanted with Nolan's Batman. Even Nolan didn't want that. So, and he did not design his characters to interact with the type of characters that exist in the plurality of this universe. So, no, that would be, I think personally, for that would be a disaster. How you doing, Chappie? I agree with this. It feels like WB is not using HBO Max to its best. I agree with this 100%. But you know what? They say they have a plan going forward. That's gonna enlist all levels of DC. So I'll give them time for that. James Gunn sounds like the Riddler on Twitter, definitely not helping anything out as far as communication goes. The fact that he put out things that are, the words half truth and not true, it allows me to look at a lot of the stuff that's coming out in a different light. So he did help there. Darcivia William, do you think Warner Brothers doesn't know what to do with the Flash film? Could it be a big mess, or maybe Ezra Miller's problems could be the reason it hasn't been released yet? I don't think Ezra Miller's problems are an issue because nobody gives a shit about those problems other than people who sit in front of computers. Nobody cares, and I've gone into length about even if they do know, they don't care. They don't. Their connection with Ezra Miller is what he can do for them on the screen, just like their connection to any athlete that has done or have been accused of dirty deeds. Can he get that ball into the hoop? Can he get that ball into the end zone? Can he get that puck in the net? That is the relationship that the audience and the fans have with those characters. Everybody else that claims holier than thou and how can we do this? Everybody needs a Boy Scout. That they're in the minority. And by the time that this movie comes out in June, even less, it's going to be even to less that degree. I think what they are doing with the Flash movie is trying to make adjustments to it to fit what these guys are going to be doing going forward. That's why I think there's been delays. That's why I think a lot of these movies were pushed back, is because you had a previous regime that was just throwing shit out there out of order and it didn't make any sense, and that it hurt things like Black Adam, it hurt things like Shazam, it hurt things like the Suicide Squad. You're just throwing shit out there with no coherent plan, and now the merger happens, and even before they bought in Gunn and Safran, they really wanted to have some type of plan going forward. So let's see. What did I miss over? All right, just making sure I don't. Ever since I deleted all my streaming except Amazon, I found it easy not to worry about DC stuff. Just pay to rent movies on Amazon. And I'm not gonna worry about it no more. Like I said, I am committed to give James Gunn a legit shot. Like I said, I do not want to exclude that this guy can give me something that blows me away, that just literally just lifts me up in the air, And, everything I've said is under that qualification of that, okay, what do you got? If it's really epic, then I'm in. All right, I'm in. Even if it means letting go of some of the stuff that has entertained me. If you got something better, that's the question I've been asking everybody who's been in that seat since Hamada and any of these other amateurs that were there. All right. I'll ask, continue what you started, and if you're not going to do that, we didn't need to go 5 years in limbo while you gave me a bunch of characters that didn't draw, nobody cared about, and kept the Big Chief, or the real Big Chief, kept Superman off of the air for 5 years. All right, didn't have a connected Batman movie, so, that was happening. A bad Wonder Woman movie, hurting the Harley Quinn brand because you put out 2 movies that didn't do well. If they would have spent that 5 years giving me something that just mesmerized me, I would have been moved on by now. Everybody says Snyder people need to move on. Move on to what? You're giving us shit to move on to. All right. So, but if James Gunn and Peter Safran give me something to jump onto, I'm all for it. And I think everybody should at least give them that opportunity. And let him lay out his plan. I will always say that reboots are a bad idea because it's been proven that most reboots fail. It's been proven that a lot of times when you do a reboot, you turn off the base that you already had built up to that point, hoping that you can hold on to them and build new people. And generally what ends up happening is neither side ends up caring about what you're doing. That's definitely what's happened in the paper medium. And I could see it happening in the motion picture and streaming media and everything else, the live action media. So if they go with this route, I'm on board. But understand, I don't want to hear anything about the numbers. If you're telling me that you're going to reboot, you're telling me that you are okay with getting kicked in the nuts financially for a while in order to build this up. Like I said, the worst thing you can do is give me something that I'm not interested in. I just don't go see it. I'm not gonna hate. I'm not gonna That's when I will move on from DC. If you give me something that just doesn't interest me, I'm not going to be that diligent anymore and just continue to go see things that just don't click for me. And I've learned that with the MCU. I don't need to go see every MCU movie after seeing 30 of them and then just under half of them being a complete waste of my time. So I don't have to go to the movies to see these things. I want to go engage in these stories, but it all depends on what he gives me. And I'm going to give him his fair shot because I think James Gunn has vision. And that's why it sucks to see, all these other things come around, these reports and these articles and these unnamed whatevers, uh, you know, trying to dictate the narrative before the guy has a chance to dictate the narrative. I think the reboots are a bad idea. But guess what? Once I see his plan and I see where his starting point is, and if it's like, holy shit, I'm open to that. I'm ready to enjoy DC to that point. Daniel Martin, it's definitely been exhausting. We're doing a soft reboot. Cavill's back. We're doing a hard reboot. We don't want to start back at with the Trinity. Momoa will play Lobo. So, yeah, just that's emblematic of everything that a DC fan has gone through right now, and not just the hardcore guys, the general audience. If a general audience were to read this just now, is that something you want to buy into? That's a lot. That's a lot. So, Victor Vikram Behera, I hit the point of apathy for a year now. I believe the 10-year plan. Let's see. And that right there is you worded the most. Yours might be the best post of the night. I'll believe their 10-year plan when I see it. That's what I mean by that uphill battle that might not bear you anything for a long time. Once you get your fandom to that's a horrible place for fans to be. I'll believe it when I see it. Not anticipation thereof. Not I'm excited for it. I'll believe it when I see it. You've lost the trust of your brand to the point now where you have to go backwards, uphill through snow just to prove that you're even viable. All right. And then you're going to restart everything on top of that. Even if it was the right decision. Do you understand now why reboots fail? So I'm looking for James Gunn to package whatever he's selling differently than any other reboot we've ever seen. This cannot be a standard reboot. It has to be something that blows my hat off. My hat needs to go flying when I see James Gunn's plan. I got to be excited for the plan in general. If we get to the point where he makes these announcements and we're not like, holy shit, that's great, which we very much could be, you're in trouble. Because anticipation is what helps breed revenue. And if you have people just have a standoffish attitude about the brand, you don't want that. You want to have just take my money. You don't want to have maybe your plan itself before you even show me the first movie. Your plan has to be something sound and earth-shattering, to be honest with you. I don't think a mediocre plan is going to do it, and I don't think he's going to give us that. I really am believing that this guy is going to do right by all of us. But there's a possibility that things could go sideways. But for my little rant is goes towards more for people who are reboot, and not realizing that what that brings. The swamp and the trudging through the thick mud that uphill that brings. And do we want to go through that again? We've been through that. Who wants to go through? Who wants to start over again? Like the Foo Fighters said, I'm getting tired of starting again somewhere new. Starting over gets exhausting. Restarting reboots are the direct path to apathy in most cases. You know what? So I'm waiting to see what he has. I'm hoping James Gunn. I will navigate through the concerns that I have about a reboot. If he does it. LOL, it's Batman. There's no such thing as grounded. In fact, there's a such thing as grounded. The difference between a Riddler that you would see in any other director's movie and that you have seen in other director's movies is different from the Zodiac serial killer type character you saw. That's grounded. All right, you did that. The question mark wearing full with the bright ring derby hat and the goofy salmon tie is not happening in Matt Reeves' Batman. That's grounded. With the Riddler that you saw in Matt Reeves' Batman, that's grounded. That is a legit serial killer. When I say grounded, it means everybody involved, everybody watching could literally theoretically do what everybody in there is doing and be that person. Anybody who's crazy enough could have been the Riddler. All you needed was a mask and some duct tape and a willingness to kill. You didn't need to have a crazy, goofy costume. The Riddler in the comics and in the previous movies didn't blend into shit. He looked like a pole. All right. That Riddler literally blended in society just like a normal grounded serial killer that's grounded in our world would. So, yeah, it's Batman, but it is a grounded version of Batman. You wouldn't see, an alien from another planet in that Batman. You wouldn't see a guy with a ring that could do anything in that particular version of Batman, and that is by his design. So, yeah, you couldn't. The two worlds need to stay separate, in my opinion. All right, so we're good. Chappie, remember when people said that the creatives are never going to work for Warner Discovery again after the cancellation of Batgirl? It was reported that Adil and Bilal, I hope I'm not butchering their names, were having a meeting. Yeah, I remember that. And I told people, they were full of shit. And anybody who's saying that they were never going to do it is bullshit. Listen, when the money gets put down on the table and the right project comes up, people are not going to push money aside and the opportunity to build upon their legacy just for some shit that happened before. It's business. It happens. Money talks, bullshit walks. All right. It's not YouTubers arguing with each other. It's not 4-year-olds playing in the sand arguing over a toy. These are grown-ass men and women that are paid to do a job, and they're going to do the job. Nobody's going to turn down a prestige project that could win them an Oscar and make them a lot of money just because they had a spat with that same person a couple years ago. There's plenty of movies and plenty of TV shows where people hated each other. Was a hard time working with each other. Did documentaries on how bad it was working with that person, and guess what? Somebody lays down a briefcase with a bunch of money, a good script, Oscar award-winning potential. Guess what happens? You're going to get a sequel. All right, this is a job. Everybody works with people at their job that are assholes. All right, you got a manager that's an asshole. You got a coworker that might be an asshole, but you work together and you get the job done. Filmmaking is no different. So this doesn't surprise me at all. All right. Yeah, I think Momoa would be a great Lobo, and I think that it would be a great movie. But the problem is that in order to get to the sustainability of building a bridge and getting these movies going, a lot of times these guys want to sit and look at the box office and be like, well, this didn't make this money, so should we continue? And what I'm telling people is, and I hope that they commit to this, if you go with this route, understand that you may be dealing with a Lobo movie that may make less than Black Adam. But if you commit to this path, then I should see a Lobo too. I should be, if you're going to commit to this long, painful path, commit to it. And the fans need to commit to it and stop doing the stupid shit, in box office tracking and all that. All right, because it's just not going to be there for a movie like this. It's just not. It may make decent money, but if you're going to go right out of the gate with movies like this and build up to the Trinity, this is just a theory. I'm not saying this is what he's going to do, but I'm hearing a lot of characters that just don't move the needle for me. Superman moves the needle. You know what? And people say, well, he didn't move the needle on Black Adam. A, it was Black Adam. B, you put him in the thing afterwards, and now it turns out that that was forced last minute. And C, you damaged the brand. The fact that we're cheering the fact that Henry Cavill and Superman's back on the big screen again, that alone tells you that a lot of people are probably going to be waiting it out till they see more. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I always said, if you want to do the B characters, great. But if you do the B characters without doing the Trinity first, nobody's going to care, man. And you're going to waste a lot of people's time and good effort and money. Jason Momoa could do an awesome job as Lobo. Nobody's going to care. All right? It's just, Zachary Levi did a great job as Shazam. The movie didn't break 400 million. And if it doesn't break 400 million now, you're going to see people saying, well, that's a disappointment. And I'm going to go back to, okay, it's a disappointment compared to what? The other Shazam movie, you didn't know who the hell Shazam was then? So, yeah, I am, if we go that route, understand that it's a long road. I don't want to hear shit about box office for quite a while if this is the road we go down to. All right. Lobo will be a mistake. Remember, I agree. Women can't put their being on a zombie grade dude. Yeah, you know what? That's another thing. And like I said, you're putting makeup and covering up the MILF magnet. And when he's Aquaman, he has an excuse to run around without a shirt for a long time. And you see his face, and he doesn't look like Rob Zombie. So yeah, that's and Lobo is not a very appealing character. Lobo's a piece of shit. It's the appeal to him. So I don't know, man. William is like, thank God we dodged a bullet, not during the Batman Beyond. Listen, guys, I know some of you love this whole Batman Beyond thing, and James Gunn is just a guy to do an obscure shit like that. What did it last? 3 seasons? Every person that I've ever run into that has watched Batman Beyond, the few that I run into, I mean, there's a billion of them on YouTube apparently, thinks that everybody else watched that show and wants a live action one. And I'm like, I don't know. We may get one. I'm just not down for a Batman that's not Bruce Wayne. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why you have not seen a Batman Beyond. Because, a Batman without Bruce Wayne, I think it's different when you're talking about Spider-Man Miles Morales. Because by the time you ever see that on live action, you're going to have 3 movies, theatrical movies, not a canceled cartoon, from 20-something years ago. You're going to have a character that's relatively new, has been in 2 to 3 successful cartoons, has been a part of a decent selling comic, has had a culture built around him, has been in video games. It's a big difference than Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond is one of them cult things. I mean, if you get it, congratulations to all you Batman Beyond fans. But when I hear Keaton and Batman Beyond, I'm like, what? Wow. I'm like, that would be a disaster, in my opinion. Because I really, really think that people are overestimating the appeal. And I love Michael Keaton. I think he's a great actor. And at one time, he was a great Batman. But he's 72 years old, and even as a Batman Beyond, I just don't want it. I'd rather see a mainline DCU Batman before I ever sniffed a Batman Beyond. If I get a Batman Beyond before I get a mainline DCU Batman, I'm gonna be pissed. And that's not gonna be a good sign for me. It's called Tamed by a Broken Beast. It's animated. Okay. Am I missing something there? All right. Fun. Whatever they have plans, it needs to be better than the Snyderverse, or it's going to be a bust. Everyone will be comparing. That's going to be inevitable. It's going to be inevitable, especially if it's not resolved. If there's not some kind of smooth transition, then it's going to be even worse. And to be honest with you, they know that. They understand that. And in all fairness, I can't expect them to pick up the bones of the Snyderverse. If you want to end it and restart your own thing, just give me a transition point to where, personally, that I can still look upon the 9 years and not feel like, God damn it, that was fun ride to nowhere. I always say, as a business person, I see no reason to stop making money on these existing IPs. Jason Momoa is still a MILF magnet. Cavill is still a MILF magnet. I mean, Ben Affleck, obviously, he's pulled in the ultimate MILF and J-Lo. I mean, he's definitely a magnet. Why are we not using these guys to make money? But once again, I understand I cannot shackle James Gunn with an inherited vision like that. I just hope they do it in a way that is, appealing to everybody, the people you want to attract, and bring the people that are already here along with you into this new world in a way that just doesn't feel like your time is wasted. That's my wish. Who knows how it'll happen? I'm open-minded to whatever he's going to do. He's a good storyteller, and I'm just going to let him do it. Hey, how you doing? I am doing great. I am. It's been a rough week. It's been Christmas. It's been busy. This comic book stuff is, like I said, Everything that's gone on in the last 24 hours underscores why I did want James Gunn in this, because, like I said, he's come out, he said some things. It's as hazy as it can be. I don't expect him to give me details, to be honest with you, but his words put into perspective the words that we are hearing from these trades. And like I said last night, just take all this with a grain of salt. Nobody's necessarily lying to you, but only one guy has the information that you really should be following at this point. It will be different if this is all we had were the trades and the YouTubers and the Twitters and all that, but we don't have, it doesn't have to be that way anymore. And we can look at these trades and be like, oh, all right. And then we can, wait to hear from the barrel of the gun. Anything I hear from him, I'm going to, even with its riddle format, it's the same riddle I got from the Hollywood Reporter. All right. So like I said, I'm basically in the same space, but I'm ready for him to release this information so that we can start having fun conversations one way or another. He's 100% right. We're not going to make everybody happy. He's not going to make everybody happy. But try. And he said something to me that really gave me hope. He's putting the story first. I haven't seen too many people come out on the bad end of things when they put the story first. I've seen people come up on the short end of things when they put the story secondary or under anything behind that. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. They didn't come out on the bad end. It's going to make $800-900 million, everything else. But for me, as a fan and for my enjoyment, that movie was left me wanting. That movie was incomplete. That movie was empty for me because it was missing something that it shouldn't have been missing because somebody put things ahead of the story. And here I got James Gunn saying that the story is going to come first. The story should come first before my desires. I have a wish list, but I'm not the storyteller. I have concerns about things like reboots and restarts and just this nonsense like that. However, I yield to the storyteller. Blow my socks off, James. Or with William, if you can get Tori Black to work register at the Sci-Fi Center, yeah, you know what? Yeah, okay. Fourth, boy. Chappie, while it would have been interesting, I think probably for the best that Batman Beyond got canceled with Keaton and give me a Ben Affleck in the solo Batman movies. Give me anything but Batman Beyond. Give me a mainline Batman that I can sink my teeth into, and don't give me some adaptation of a cartoon that got canceled 20 years ago. What the hell? Come on. I'm the cultist? No, it's not, but I do have Shazam sweaters being made. You'll see me. It's cold, and I'm in my office, and all I have is my heater out here, my space heater. I'm going to be closing in on 60. And that's the kind of, I know we're saying this in jest and joking, but these are years of my life that I'm investing into these things in time and effort and all that, and promoting and all that. After this 10-year plan comes on the heels of a 9-year plan that's about to could possibly leave me empty-handed as far as the fan goes. So who knows, man? Daniel, we have a plan. Our plan is to come up with, and you know what? Like I said, in all defense to James Gunn, and what I was saying last night, keep your minds open, even for a guy like me, who will drop trowel and shit on the word reboot. I'm still open to where if James Gunn opens up and says, "Here, William, we're going to start over with this, and we're going to give you a new slate, but here's what we're going to give you. Here's how we're going to give you," and my hat goes flying off, and my socks get blown off, and I'm like, "Holy cow!" And I start trembling and shaking. I'm like, "I want this to happen now." If he gives me something like that, I'll shut the hell up about reboots and stuff like that. Because if you give somebody something mind-blowing to grab onto, like I said, I only have two hands. If I'm holding on to the thing you gave me to with both my hands, I don't have time or another appendage to hang on to something else. Distract me with the good shit. But it's got to be good. It's got to be, if you're going to do this, blow me out of the water with it. I haven't seen anybody do that yet, but I'm committed. I wanted a new change. I wanted a different regime. I got that. I have to give them a chance to do this, despite my criticisms and concerns. I feel obligated, and I think in all fairness, James Gunn deserves his shot to do what he's going to do. You know? All right. Gunn should be the plan guy. Christopher McCurry should be the director and the guy who brings the talent. I think that Gunn is going to be the producer, the executive producer. I don't know how much actual on directing he's going to do on his own, as far as like, because he may just get too busy. But you know what? I wouldn't mind. You don't see Kevin Feige directing anything because he's just not that kind of guy. But James Gunn is also a director and a hands-on guy. So as far as direction, who knows? I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing him direct and produce at the same time. All right. Let's see. Yeah, RJ. Why RJ can solve all this. RJ, James Gunn has responded to or liked or whatever, or some of RJ's posts, and now people are giving him shit about knowing him. That would be good to know him. I mean, but listen, he's engaged with a lot of people, and I think that is good. I think that is good. That keeps some people from going off the cliff, because after yesterday, people were ready to go off the cliff of despair, and I'm like, wait a minute. You guys read a paragraph out of that article and were ready to do Thelma and Louise and drive the car off the canyon. I'm like, wait, hold on. All right, maybe that day will come, but we're not there yet. He hasn't given us his plan yet. And the plan he has still has to go through Zaslav, who might make adjustments beyond that. Everything we heard of that could be rumor, if it gets to Zaslav desk, he's like, well, fuck that. I don't like that. Balls it up, those gang. Come back to me in 2 weeks. We don't know who's going to say yes to what. So we're at that stage now. I still think we're in a good place. Love it or hate what might be implied here, he cares about these characters. It sounds like he is surrounding himself with people who care about these characters. That hasn't been the case for a very, very long time. I'm okay with not getting everything I want if I'm dealing with a person who is at least giving me the effort to put a coherent story together that will stand the test of time. All right with it. I mean, I have my preferences, we all do, but once again, I can't pray for the previous regime to get pushed out, and then when they want, one comes in, I'm a hypocrite if I don't let them at least get a shot at it. You know what I mean? Yeah. RJ knows the real plan. That'd be hilarious if RJ was on the stream. If RJ was the person that comes out on stage and introducing, ladies and gentlemen, personal friend of mine, James Gunn, I would laugh my ass off. Everybody, he would be intolerable after that. Batman Beyond is where you go after a successful DC reunion. Yeah, do Batman Beyond when I'm in my 80s and can't hear or see anything anymore. Yeah, RJ, stop. Aztec Aguilera, for at some point you have to do Nightwing, Red Hood, Damian Wayne, Batman. Oh no, because how many times are we going to see Bruce Wayne? And Batman is my favorite. The problem is as many times as the general audience wants to. Batman is still the man. Batman is still the best-selling DC Comics stuff. Batman is still the icon. And the only way you bring in any of those characters, the only reason you even know any of those characters that you just listed is because of Batman. The only reason a lot of people even give them a page worth of reading is because of Batman. So you have to establish Batman and have him on the chessboard before these characters come in. Otherwise, you're dealing with the same case we just talked about ad nauseum over the last half hour or so, with bringing in C-level derivative characters and expecting people to care about them when you don't filter them through the character that they only exist to begin with for. Every one of these characters on here exists because of Batman. So you gotta be careful on that one. How old will Keaton have to be? His Gotham was like Art Deco 50s, and now he's around flying cars and Blade Runner World. I don't know, man. I don't know. Just, you know what? I almost want them to do a Batman Beyond so we can just get this off of people's bucket list. I don't have to see it, but, just let people see that, before they leave the planet. My Wombat, getting dry. Mwamba, 85 DT. Ever since MCU did their cinematic universe, every single other movie studio has been trying to copy what Marvel did. And be honest with you, if you're going to do comic book movies and you want to make money, that was always going to be the case. It's a formula that really you can take the MCU out of it. People want to invest in that continuity. It's just the same way they do in the comic books. Otherwise, I would only sell one comic. There's a reason why we have these comics and these shared worlds in comic books is because it promotes the sale of other comics and widens the story and increases the chance for more revenue to be made. All right. I mean, Marvel may have been the first to do it, but they were never going to be the only one to do it, especially with DC being the one who created the shared universe. DC created that. DC created the superhero. DC created the superhero group. All right. So DC created the superpowered human being. So there was no way we were ever going to do extended amounts of DC movies without them being in the same universe. You may have had all these movies like Superman, Batman that existed before, but that was a different world of filmmaking where the revenue demand by stockholders and company owners was not anywhere near what it was and what it is now. In order to sustain these companies and these studios, you must have a shared universe, whether it's not even a copy, it's more common sense. If you're going to exist in a comic book world on any format, then you are going to connect with those other franchises within your dome. Whether Marvel did it or not, eventually, if DC was going to make more than one certain amount of movie, it just wasn't going to fly. So the standalone model works but not to the extent that it would need to sustain a company. It's great that the Batman made $700 million. We'll see you in another 3 years when that one comes out. It's great that the Joker made $1 billion. What's 2 more years? You see what these movies, these standalones do not generate. Not only do they not generate the revenue that's necessary, they don't generate the energy that's necessary to create the demand. So it's not just the copying thing; it's more of a common sense thing. That's the way I see it. Yeah, who knows? Chappie, I think it's definitely possible that DC heads James Gunn and Peter Safran might bring back Batgirl movie if it fit in better with their continuity, and they could. After they've established the brand and they've established their level of acceptance, they could very well bring back and redo Batman. They could bring it back with these directors with different mandate. They could bring it back with Leslie Grace. That's always been on the table. I mean, and I hope they get a happy ending. I don't. Yeah, I can see him. I can see him as Aquaman. I mean, I like him in everything he's been into, and I mean, Hawk. And I love his Hawk. His Jack Reacher that he did. They really aren't. And I think that's being money in that left on the table. I mean, damn, you got these guys. You got these guys. Like I said, Henry Cavill, it literally impregnated women, by building a computer. All right, Jason Momoa, when he's walking around on one of those talk shows in his little Hawaiian, speedo thing, those women went crazy. All right, Ben Affleck, literally, I mean, he's not just a MILF magnet. He's attracted the MILF. There's nothing else left for him to draw in. So I think they've been wasted. I think these are people that are some of the best actors on their level now, and they've just been wasted. And I hate to see them not get a good enough transition for what they put into these characters and what we put into these characters watching them. And I just don't want a disjointed next step. That's just me. All right, telling that Patty walked after they told her to submit another script. If that's true, after Wonder Woman 84, I wouldn't be surprised. I wonder if Gal will leave now. We're getting into speculation, but One thing we say we heard that Wonder Woman is done and Gal's out and all that. That turns out to be bullshit. As far as we know, it could turn out to be true once Gunn says it is, but right now it's about as much bullshit as anything else. Um, if they told her to come back with a script that fits what we're doing, then that tells me that Wonder Woman, in that iteration of Wonder Woman, the Gal Gadot could still be alive. And if I'm Gal, much as he loves Patty, this is a high-profile role. If they say you're on board, we're just going to get somebody else to direct it and get a different script. I would hope she would do business, but it's different. Well, plus everyone is different. Groups comes when it comes to comic book movies. If you like anything MCU, you're garbage. If you like the Snyderverse, you're trash. Or if you like anything Hamada put out, you're an enemy. That's true to a point, but we pretty much narrowed down a lot of that nonsense to the extremists that put it out. To be honest with you, I like some MCU stuff, but some of it is trash. Sorry. Some of it is some of the greatest stuff that's ever put out, but there's a good measure of it that I wish I could get my time back. All of the Thor movies, Guardians of the Galaxy 2.0, Avengers, Age of Ultron, Ant-Man. Ant-Man I was just watched on TV. I didn't have to go see that in the movie. Captain Marvel, Iron Man 2. I could go on and on. Eventually I'll reach about, I counted 13 or 14 movies that I thought I didn't need to see these movies to get this plot. And some of these movies weren't very good. And I spent time and money to go see them in some cases. When it comes to, if you like the Snyderverse, you're trash, a lot of that is by fucking morons. I'm just going to put that out there right now. It's one thing that if you watch Zack Snyder's Justice League and you just didn't like it, that's one thing. That's your opinion. And you can often see when people express an opinion about the quality of something. It wasn't for me. Here's what I didn't like about it. This is a lot of the people that are bashing people who watch the Snyderverse are just doing it because it's the end thing to do. Like I said last night, the people who were celebrating this story and trying to pick fights with people and trying to antagonize people and those people, like I said, when you hear it from those people, it's kind of worthless. Most of the people that, a lot of the people who, will tell you that because you like something, it's trash, like that, they're fucking morons. And that goes for the MCU thing. And if you like some of the MCU stuff that I thought was worthless, I don't think you're trash. And if somebody tells you you're trash because of something you like, they're a fucking moron. And you should probably tell them, hey, you're a fucking moron. You know what? You like what you like. I'll like what I like. And happy trails. I hope you get as much of what you like as you want to. You know what? I don't watch The Big Bang Theory. If you watch it, I hope it stays on forever. I hope Young Sheldon or wherever. I hope they do reunions. I'm not a Harry Potter guy. All right, but if you like Harry Potter, continue to love Harry Potter till you leave this damn planet. And if anybody tells you that you're trash for that or it antagonizes you for that, they are a fucking moron. Now, as a Snyder fan, I often get pulled into the pool of some of the more toxic people that make up a very small percentage of us, and I get people telling me to move on. I get people telling me that Snyder's was garbage. Most of them are the good majority of people I run to, and then you hear their terminology. You can tell when you're talking to somebody who has a legit issue with his style and everything else, and then you can also tell when you're talking to a fucking moron. And the best thing anybody can do for your own mental health when it comes to these situations, that includes, Hamada to a certain extent, is just don't engage him. Cut the conversation off and move on to somebody who can actually form a coherent conversation. I have issues with Hamada's decision making, but I never thought he was a person for the job. I thought that the person who handled DC Films should be somebody who cares about the IPs, and I never got the sense that he cared about the IPs. I thought he was put into a situation that was untenable, but he was part of a losing formula, and I thought he and everyone around him needed to go. I like some of the stuff Hamada has been a part of in the horror realm, and I think I'm going to like some of the stuff that he's going to be part of with Paramount. And if somebody tells me I'm trash, that I'm the enemy because I say that, fuck them. All right? Stop putting so much weight into what other people think about your fandom. Tell them to go fuck off. All right? When somebody tells you need to move on from something, tell them, yeah, you are who I need to move on from. And guess what? I think you should move on from me. I think we should go down our different streams of the river. It's a fork in the road. You go this way, I go this way. All right, but you have people who want to create that antagonism. They want to create that friction. They want to pick a fight. Like I said, yesterday was not a miserable day as far as just regular information goes. It was just another a day that a trade put out some shit. What made the day just laughable was the response to people who are not engaged into the product that they're bringing up, but just put shit out to fuck with people. All right. And if in the key words is when somebody tells you that, calls you names for liking something, that is when you need to disengage. You don't need to respond to everything that every douchebag says about what you love watching or whether it's going to come back or not. Why does somebody who does not like the Snyderverse care if it comes back or not? It wasn't like you're going to be watching the stuff that replaces it. You weren't. Look at the box office numbers of those. So all these people are telling you, we want something different from Snyder. These people are idiots and they should move on. They're not even paying to watch the shit that's been put out in lieu of him. So fuck them too. So, yeah. All right. Never drop trout. No, I won't. I'm not a milk magnet. I'm not going to do it. Sorry, ladies. If you're waiting for me to do it, this is where you sign off. I'm sorry I disappointed you. Thank you for reminding me because I was just about to do it. No, I wasn't. All right, William, give me some crazy. No reboot. I mean, listen, dude. Maybe I have war scars and PTSD from DC and reboots. Nothing is going well as a result. All right. I can show you my my comics list and the stuff that DC has put their fans in through the last 30 years. And it's finally starting to wear on people to where if it's not Batman, they ain't buying it. And it's just and a lot of it is because he's the only stable character in all these reboots. But no, reboots at this point, I would rather dine on my own vomit at this point. But even having said that despicable thing I just said, James Gunn, blow my socks off. I will buy what you're selling if it's really good. If you give me something, like I said, I'm a dog out here in the yard playing with a toy. If you bring me a cooler toy, a squeaky toy, the one that just says, "Oh shit, what did I just have in my mouth? I want that," then I'll do it. My mind will remain open. I prefer a different path. I am concerned about certain paths, but I have nothing to lose at this point but to be open-minded to what he has. So there you go. All right, William, you need to stop going back to the Christopher Reeves and River Dawn. Yeah, they really do. It's listen, I was 6 years old when I saw Superman 2 in the theaters, Chinese theaters. I was 4, I think, when the old man dragged me to see the first one. I don't even remember that. I'm not 6 years old anymore. All right, people grow up, the world changes. All right, just reading what director Patty Jenkins walked away from Wonder Woman 3 after Warner Brothers told her, okay. Told her to submit another script and probably more of this. There's probably more to that story, and that's part of that, probably the half truth that James will put out. In my mind, Thelma and Louise survived the candy fall. Hey, maybe we will too. Insufferable RJ. I'm going through the chat. And plus, haven't been confirmed if director Patty Jenkins left her still in the project. I hope, because I want to see her finish. It's a mixed bag for me. Wonder Woman 84 was really tough, man. That was one of the worst comic book movies I've ever seen. Not Howard the Duck level, but it was not good. But hey, everybody has a bad day at the office. We want your inside, man. I want a split screen with you and James Gunn. Well, let's say hypothetically it's true that they just want to fully restart the DC Cinematic Universe after Aquaman lawsuit. How would I restart it myself? I would. Here's how I would restart things. I wrote this story in my head, and so indulge me because it's out there. But I'm a geek. I'm a comic book guy. I would use the Flash. All right. I would use the Flash to basically go. There would be multiple Flashes in time. I would still use Darkseid as this. You don't have to tell me the whole Zack Snyder arc right now. We know that at somewhere in the future that Darkseid is going to lay waste. And since Darkseid exists outside of the multiverse, he is a threat to every reality. Darkseid is supposed to be unique. Since Apocalypse and New Genesis exist outside of the multiverse, he is unique in every galaxy, so he's a threat. And I would come up with a scenario where Darkseid has gone to all of these other realities and laid waste to them. And that the Flashes from all of those realities are using their powers to jump from one universe to another in the hopes that they can warn and help save them, and to the point where they all converge into one storyline, including R. Ezra Miller one, and that way. I would come up with a way that the only way to reset things is for all of these Flashes to go into the Speed Force and converge at once at a certain point of time before Darkseid finds Earth again. And then I would reset the world from there. All right. What that would allow you to do at this point is everything would still happen when it was supposed to happen. But it would allow you to tell different stories leading up to that. And you could retcon whatever you wanted to. That would give you, if you wanted to replace Ezra, which I don't think they will, that would be your way to do it. But you would consolidate all your realities pretty much into one going forward, or you could split them and going forward. What you could do is the easiest thing to do is consolidate everything going forward. But what I would have something happen, and if any of you have ever read Crisis of Infinite Earth, they did exactly what I'm saying. But they did it with one caveat: the Time Trapper, while the Anti-Monitor, while all the universes were collapsing into one, the Time Trapper took a piece of the universe that was relevant and necessary to him, and he pulled it apart. And as the universe reshaped itself, it reshaped itself without that pocket universe, and that's where you get Superboy. That's where you get the Supergirl, the shapeshifter Supergirl. That's where you get the three Kryptonians that came back. Even though Superman had killed them before, they came back because the Time Trapper needed Superboy in order to tie their lineage to the Legion of Superheroes, which he needed to exist because without them weakening the enemies of his era, he would be overwhelmed by people like Mordru and Darkseid at that point. So the Legion of Superheroes was the stopper for all that, and his existence depended on him. So he tied the Legion of Superheroes' future to the pocket universe that he has. I would go ahead and do that. Put that pocket universe over there for whatever you want to do in the future. And I would go forward from a certain point. If you want to retcon and eliminate Zack Snyder's Justice League from the main timeline, you can. And I would use the same actors from that point on. That would give you your fresh beginning. But at the same time, it still keeps the content that you have produced relevant. Some other director can come back and complete that storyline if they want to. Or, there's a couple of different ways to do it, but I would use the Flash to do it. I think it's right for them to use the Flash to do it. I just don't want to see it done in the same way that Flashpoint did it. Flashpoint was a disaster. And New 52 was a disaster, in my opinion. A long-term disaster. Everybody got their jollies off of it, for the first year or so, but look where we are now in 2022 with half these books being canceled or not selling. So something along those lines. I did it before where I explained it and I wrote it down and I have it at the store. I actually typed it down how I would do it because it's a little bit more complex than that. It basically it involved we're starting a universe to the point where certain things are going to happen. It erases all the previous stuff that other people wrote, but allows certain things to happen. Kind of like when J.J. Abrams redid um, the um, the Star Trek universe. They were always going to meet continuity and thing no matter what because they were destined to meet them. They were always, certain things were always going to happen. Certain encounters, he was always going to meet Bones. There are certain things that are going to happen no matter what. So you set in motion those things, but you put it under your narrative, and you give yourself a clean slate possibly. But at that point, that storyline still you that's still a logical transition because you're not invalidating everything that happened before. But like I said, it's a tough question to answer now because I had a script and stuff written like about 6 months ago when all this was still up in the air. All right, let's see. It didn't. Stuff RJ. All right. Okay, so love is what? What's going on? I feel like we're in a Seinfeld episode where they spoofed them and Heath Kramer. Whoopi Goldberg as the new Amanda Waller. She's getting up there. William, what other superheroes would you like DC to do standalone movies on if they're not going to like they're doing Matt Reeves' Batman? Every character that I would like to see as a standalone, I would like to see exist in the universe that's connected. That's the problem. I'm not a big fan of standalones. I'm just not. I don't like those limitations because if I have a Green Lantern, I want a Green Lantern that's going to be working with the rest of the universe that he's in. The Green Lantern has always worked alongside of our superheroes. If it were a Wonder Woman, I would want a Wonder Woman Dead Earth that's placed hundreds of years into the future if you want to do an Elseworlds like that. But if we're going to do a contemporary, I don't want to see a Wonder Woman that is not connected to Batman and Superman. You got to realize that from the moment these characters were created, they've always existed alongside of each other. So I don't know any of these characters. I mean, maybe the Question, characters like that. I don't know. Any standalone movie would eventually lead back to a connected universe for me, so it's a tough question to answer. I did background on Reacher while I was standing on the stairs waiting for my cue. He was running down and accidentally hit my arm on the way. It threw me off balance. Alan is a massive mofo. He's a big dude, and he's gotten better acting-wise. All right, it will be cool to see a standalone, specifically Superman movie, like you saw with Batman and Robert Pattinson, instead of relying on Superman all the time. But Superman is the center of the DC universe. There's just no way around that at this point. I mean, that is what he means to the DC universe. I don't know. I mean, you could do standalones. You could do a solo movie, but eventually that character is going to gravitate towards the greater good because it always has been that. That is design. By not doing that, you're doing something eventually that the character is not designed to do. Now, you could get away with that in the 70s and 80s. I just don't think you can get away with that in the 2020s. As John Campy always says, all film is subjective, and he is 100% right with that. He is 100% right with that. Let somebody else enjoy their shit, and you enjoy yours. So that's a good deal there. Wonder Woman, what Rock's fate isn't all after the reception Black Adam got. I thought I said Wonder Woman. Wonder what the Rock's fate, and who knows, man? Who knows? But like I said before, you can't entirely blame anything on him. He didn't greenlight the movie. It shouldn't have happened this soon. He had to do a lot of promotion that he really shouldn't have had to do. Everywhere you saw The Rock doing something, that's great. But like I said, Warner Brothers has entire divisions whose job it is to make this happen. And they didn't. I don't think they did the best of jobs then. Towards the end, they did. But by that time, we were already the rubber's already hit the road. The people who saw Black Adam, the fans that saw it, liked it. So, like I said, they've greenlit movies that, maybe less than Black Adam. So, I mean, who knows? It all depends on what Gunn rolls out. William, are you going to do a live college show tonight where you're going to have people join the show and talk? Oh, I think you may called in. Not during the main show tonight, the 6:30 show, because that's a structured show with structured topics. I may do with the overnight show. The overnight show, I might have you guys in because that's generally a 3-hour show. Like I said, I think The Rock is taking a lot of heat that's not fair. But hey, you know what? Who knows? They'll just have 1 minute referencing Black Adam and move on. I think that would be unfortunate. That'd be a waste. But who knows? Are use Walter Amada perfect comparison of the Catherine Kennedy in Star Wars? He was good for Lucasfilm, but not for Star Wars. She's made some mistakes. I would that's a good. I mean, because like I said, outside of some of the mistakes she made with Star Wars, even though all those movies made a lot of money, a lot of the stuff that has to be redone or rescripts and all that. I mean, she's a great producer. I think she's an Academy Award winning producer. Okay, that was a typo. Once again, not this show, not tonight's Sci-Fi Center Live, our weekly show. Yeah, blow me away, man. I mean, like I said, everything I say, everything I'm worried about is contingent upon the plan. If the Bible gets opened up and I'm like, wow, then I come out and I say something else. I will adjust my frame of mind once I see it and I'm ready to see it. Reboots aren't always a bad thing. Sometimes they can be very good as long as you bring something new to the table, similar to a remake. Like I said, they're really tough. Usually, a lot of times, the most reason why reboots fail because they're an act of desperation to begin with. You're blowing up something because you can't figure out what to do with what you have in front of you. And either it's because people are too lazy to do the work, they don't want to inherit stuff, but you're not doing it because you've reached a logical end to things. You've reached a point where you can no longer deal with something, and that's not a good reason to do things over again. Because that may be good for you, but everybody who's been hanging on to what's been gone before, it just gets kicked off of the boat, and then the brand new people who are watching those people get kicked off the boat and wondering, do I want to get on that boat again? Like I said, most reboots fail. Some are successful, but most fail. Most intergenerational reboots fail. And when it comes to DC, like I said, look at the sales of DC's things post reboot, and the numbers speak for themselves. Yeah, I gotta get it, but there's more. I just gave you the horrible version of it. I gave you. I have the Guardians of the Universe involved. I have I had a whole bunch of things mapped out and drawn out. What I just gave you is a shitty version of it. I'm actually gonna find that. I'm gonna actually present it to you guys. And you know what, James Gunn, maybe you'll watch the show and get it from there. Yeah, and it's like I said, I just gave you a really truncated version because he just caught me off guard. But I'll bring it. I'll find it on my tablet and bring it to you there. William, if Marvel decides to do standalone movies that are not attached to the MCU, what superheroes would you like to see them do? Well, they're already doing a show with Daredevil. I love Daredevil. Wow, damn. Already, most of them are done. I've already seen a Punisher one. I don't know if I can. Swamp Thing. I'd love to see Swamp Thing. You've already gotten Doctor Strange. I mean, a lot of the ones I've already gotten. Silver Surfer. Definitely like to see Silver Surfer. So some of them are along those lines. And the reason why I was fine with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, at least Spider-Man 3 gave me resolution and a great ending to the trilogy. That's why I was okay with them rebooting Spider-Man. Once again, when you go back, and like I said, I'll never forget the feeling when Andrew Garfield walked in through that portal, and there were people tearing up in my crowd, and they all knew it was coming. That kind of stuff matters. Resolution matters. Resolution builds trust. So, and like I said, Was never a big fan of Tom Holland as Spider-Man I was, but not his appearances until Spider-Man No Way Home. And like I said, seeing Tobey Maguire come through his portal and just seeing the reaction, just seeing that connection that those people still had to him was huge. And I think that is something that as James Gunn goes forward, he understands, even though he has to go do his own thing, that he understands the significance of what has come before, especially if it's that recent. All right, getting winded here. Factually, when I saw Black Adam, that was the first thing I thought, that the advertising campaign will actually grace him. Yeah, and I was part of that advertising. We got stuff like literally thrown on us at the last minute, like literally a week before Black Adam. And if we'd have got that, if we'd have been pushing that a lot sooner, I think we would have been in a better place. Yeah. So even with Tom Holland Spider-Man, and plus we would have never gotten a Spider-Man No Way Home with all three Spider-Man. Sometimes things happen for a reason. Like I said, just keep that in mind as we go on this new journey. It's just not. I just hope they do not cut the relevancy of what we have gone before. So, all right. I'm sorry. I'm tired. It's 1:58. Man thing. Wow, that's telling you it's time for me to end this stream. All right, guys, I am going to go ahead and I am tired, and once again, I fucked up. Remember what I said about keeping it to a tight hour? It's an hour and 48 minutes, damn near 2 hours. All right, once again, thank you for everybody who was part of the stream tonight. Everybody who added questions and added content and added your questions. You guys are what makes this engine works, and I'm always willing to stay up late and to engage with you, as long as you're willing to stay up late and engage with me. More than likely, unless I just get too whacked out tired, I will see you later on tonight, 6:30 p.m. Me and the co-pilot Thade and producer Stella will be here for you. We'll cover a lot of these topics, and probably not as much tomorrow unless something new happens. There'll be some new things that happen. I've talked some wrestling. Haven't talked wrestling in a long time. I know some of you guys aren't wrestling geeks, but I am. And some cool stuff is happening coming up that I want to talk about. I got some movies to promote. I got some tickets to give away. So we are going to dive into that tomorrow. So that's it, guys. I'm going to leave you with an advertisement. I am my own sponsor tonight for the Sci-Fi Center. You can go to the sci-fi-center.com/shop and buy all kinds of cool stuff that we are currently loading up our website and our store with. Some of those items, if you inquire, they have free shipping. We're finally getting caught up on shipping out stuff. Thank God, because we still got I'm still shipping out Black Adam shirts. And you can also buy a gift certificate for someone else or yourself to use anywhere on the site. If you're local in Las Vegas, you can come down and buy a physical gift certificate to use in the store. But with that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow or tonight at 6:30.